So one of the things that people get most frustrated with chiropractors is that they claim that they can help everything under the sun with chiropractic care. People are very skeptical about that, and so I wanted to jump in, tell you my story about how I originally felt about chiropractic and things other than back pain, neck pain, headaches. I'm talking about problems like asthma, ADHD, ear infections in children, and especially you will hear a lot of stories about helping kids with chiropractic in general. So I think you're going to find this super interesting. So when I first got to chiropractic school, my family had pretty much a miraculous experience with chiropractic, but it had helped my brother with headaches and it had helped my mom with neck pain after a car accident. But it was absolutely amazing. So I got to chiropractic school and they started using terms that made me feel like I joined a cult. So they said that your body has innate intelligence. And I looked around, I'm like, oh my gosh, I joined a cult. One of the most popular quotes during chiropractic school is, "The power that made the body heals the body." And I heard that, I'm like, that sounds super religious. Like, I thought we were here to talk about helping people's backs and necks and heads. Why are we making this like this kind of cult-like thing? So essentially during chiropractic school, the profession I learned is basically split between people that say, chiropractors are the best at helping back pain, neck pain, headaches, symptoms down an arm or a leg, carpal tunnel, sciatica, hip problems. There's plenty of that to go around. Let's just be the best doctors for that. And then there's this other 50% or so that say, no, like your body has its incredible ability to heal, and it can fix all these problems if we just get rid of the interference in the spine. This split between students was highlighted probably maybe let's say a year into chiropractic school. I ended up in a cadaver lab where we were looking at human bodies, and on this particular day we were looking at the anatomy in the butt region, and the instructor of the lab was saying how the butt is a common injection site. If somebody needs an injection of some medicine, the butt's a good site because there's a lot of muscle. But he was talking about how the sciatic nerve comes out right next to the tailbone, and whoever does the injection has to make sure not to nick the sciatic nerve, because anytime a nerve gets injured, it's a huge deal. And so essentially we looked at these bodies, and then I was sitting there with my group of 5 people, and I started telling a little story about my experience with an injection in the butt. And so the story is that while I was going to undergrad up at the University of Northern Iowa, I got super sick. My tonsils got all swollen up, and I crawled into, we called it the student death clinic, but the student health clinic, the actual medical clinic for the university students up at UNI. But I crawled into the student death clinic. They checked me out. They said, oh, you got tonsillitis. They gave me a shot of antibiotics in my butt, and then they gave me a 10-day supply. And so I took the antibiotics for the 10 days. I felt better. As soon as they ran out, I got deathly ill again. I went crawling back into student death clinic, got another injection in the butt, got another 10-day supply of antibiotics, and I was good for 10 days. As soon as it stopped, I was deathly ill again. Went into student death clinic, and they said, hey, we think you should get your tonsils out over Christmas break. So I talked to my mom about it, got the tonsils out over Christmas break. I thought everything was peachy. So again, I'm there in this lab at Palmer College in Davenport, and I told that story, and the guy next to me looked at me and he said, well, did you try chiropractic care to help with the tonsillitis? And I seriously guffawed out loud. I went, no, does chiropractic help with tonsillitis? And he looked at me like I was from outer space, but he said, well, yeah, it can help with any problem in your body. And I looked at this guy, I was like, I was looking at him, like he was an alien, and I looked around the group thinking that they were gonna be looking at him like he was crazy. And they're all looking at me like I'm totally from outer space. Like they're all looking at me like, if you don't believe that chiropractic can help these problems, like why are you here? And so anyways, that's where I learned, okay, if I'm one of the chiropractors that believes that chiropractic is just for back pain, neck pain, headaches, and the symptoms down the arm or the leg, like keep your mouth shut. Like don't stick your foot in your mouth until you're sure that you're surrounded by these doctors that recognize that that's the main things that chiropractic's for. So my last semester as an actual chiropractic student, I went and did an internship out in Kalispell, Montana. This is this town. It's right on the west side of Glacier National Park, but I was out there from Thanksgiving until Valentine's Day. And I gotta tell you, if I was out there during the summer, you might not see me here in Des Moines today. I mean, it's a beautiful area. It's in what's called the Banana Belt of Montana. And so this is it's a giant valley, the Flathead Valley. And what happens there is that the super cold air and the high winds go over the top of this valley. They lock in a layer of clouds, and then the layer of clouds lock in warmer air. And so in this region of Montana, the temperatures are like 20s and 30s. But the problem is that it's like gray all day long. It just is a very gloomy place in the winter. And so I didn't fall in love with it. But I worked for this doctor named Dr. Tony Pop, super funny doctor. And hey, you can come up with a more perfect name for a chiropractor, right? Last name Pop. But Dr. Tony Pop. And there was this day I was standing at the front desk, and I was mainly there to like shadow him and just learn more about chiropractic by experiencing his practice. But I was at the front desk and the phone rang, and I picked it up, and this lady on the other end said, "Hey, does chiropractic help with kids with constipation?" And I said yes, and helped her schedule her little boy. And then as soon as I hung up, I actually pulled out one of my resource books on nutritional strategies, and I started researching what are the nutrition things that you would recommend for a kid with constipation. You know, does this kid need to be recommended that he start taking some psyllium husks or eating dried apricots or some prunes? Anyways, the mom comes in, and she has a little 2-year-old boy with the patient, and Dr. Pop says, "Hey, what's the story? What's been going on?" And the mom explains that this little boy, like his entire second year of life, he's been constipated. She says, we tried the natural strategies, we went and saw the medical doctors, but she's like, he just does not go poop. And so our status quo for this entire year is that once a week, we give this little guy a suppository, stick a suppository up his butt. And she said, and then he finally goes within the next day or two. And she said, that's where we're at. And so Dr. Pop, he didn't ask anything more about what they tried with nutrition, but he checked this little boy out, and he found a spot that he made an adjustment at the top of the neck, this mid-back region, and then one spot in the low back. And then he just said, okay, well, why don't you come in early next week? And I'll be honest, I walked out of there thinking, this doctor I'm shadowing sucks. Like, he didn't do anything that would actually help. Like, he didn't ask any questions about what they'd done nutritionally. All he did was an adjustment. Like, this isn't gonna do anything. So flash forward the next Monday, mom brings the little boy back in, and I was actually standing at the front desk again. And the mom is just like grinning, and she comes up to the front desk and she says, "Hey, can I get some new patient paperwork for my other boy? I'd like to get him checked for chiropractic care too." So right away I'm like, she's really excited here. Follow them back into the room, and again, the mom is just ear to ear grin. She's ecstatic. But she says, "Doctor," she says, "he had 2 bowel movements the day you adjusted him, and he's had a soft bowel movement every day since." She said, "My husband told me to tell the doctor to turn it back off. He's sick of all the dirty diapers." And I'm just standing there with like my jaw dropped. I had to pick my jaw up off the floor. Because again, I thought Dr. Tony Pop was a crummy chiropractor because he didn't ask about nutrition. I thought he hadn't done anything that was going to help. And here I'm hearing that the chiropractic adjustments like instantly got this little boy's body back where it was working normal. And so Dr. Pop adjusted this little boy one more time. And then we did end up seeing the older brother for just a checkup. But after that, the whole rest of the time I was out there in Montana, that little boy didn't come back in. Everything was just going fine. And so after that experience, like I say, I don't know if I told you this, I'm like the most skeptical person in the world. I'm somebody that has to see things for myself. But after seeing that, I was like, okay, like that wasn't coincidence. And so I started looking at the body closer. I'm like, okay, yeah, your brain is trying to keep everything working. And your intestines are fundamentally like a muscle. Like your intestines in an adult have to squeeze poop through 20 feet of a tube. And so I'm like, I can understand that if the nerves that control the intestines aren't getting clear messages through, okay, I understand that chiropractic could help anywhere where there's the brain, a nerve, and then a muscle, and something in that feedback loop isn't working. And so, flash forward, I came to Iowa to start my practice. So at first I thought, the things that are further outside of that little loop, so things like asthma, ADHD, chiropractic would be a lot less likely to help those, because those are the brain and nerves and then other systems of the body, not a muscle. So I got to Des Moines and I opened my practice, and the main thing I was focused in on is just families and sports injuries. And so I wasn't actively trying to talk about kids' problems, but I still had some fun cases come in. The most common thing that I did to help kids within my own practice was constipation type issues. So one of the fun ones, one of my best friends from growing up, his name is Michael. His wife Haley, they had just had these 5-week-old, they had just had twins. And both of these twins were dealing with constipation. They were going to going poop every 5 to 6 days. Haley brought in these little babies when they were like 5 weeks old, tiny little babies. And I checked them both out. I ended up finding a couple spots in the spine that I felt like needed an adjustment. When I check out a baby, I end up pushing on each of the bones in the spine, and I'm trying to sense, is there a spot where they kind of wince or pull away, or I'm trying to find spots that are stiff. But I adjusted these 2 5-week-old little babies. Same kind of a deal. She brought them back in 4 or 5 days later, and she said, Dr. Krohse, if only one of them had gone poop, I would have written it off to chance. But she said they both went the day you gave them an adjustment. I gave the twins one more adjustment each, and they were just good to go. They started going poop on a regular basis. Another fun one, I'll put a video up in the screen here, but this is one of my favorite employees. I've been super fortunate to have just amazing employees at Compass Chiropractic, but Amy was one of the best. She had her little baby here, and her baby was dealing with constipation, also was really not a very good sleeper, and so she brought her in for some chiropractic care. So you can see what an adjustment looks like, and essentially it can be very gentle and effective. One of the other things that I saw in those first few years was bedwetting. And again, at first glance, you say, why would chiropractic help with bedwetting? Well, for a kid's not to wet the bed, the brain needs to sense the bladder's getting full, and then it needs to be able to send these messages down to these little muscles at the bottom of the bladder. They're called the sphincter muscles, and keep those clenched up tight through the entire night. And so I remember one of my friends from college, she had a 7-year-old boy that was still dealing with bedwetting. Brought the little boy in, and I checked him out. I found some spots that would benefit from chiropractic care. And again, I'm a skeptical person, so I said, well, we can give it a try. After 3 weeks, my friend, she said, my son's not having the problem anymore. Like, chiropractic care fixed it. There was another memorable one that was bedwetting. This lady brought in this 5-year-old boy that was still wetting the bed. And I checked him out for chiropractic care and found spots that would benefit from an adjustment. And then I'm always trying to see, like, how many things can we do that would all help us to solve the problem. So I said, let's do a star chart. So this would be a little chart, and every day that the boy woke up and there wasn't the bedwetting, he would get to put a star on the chart. If he did wet the bed, I said, it's not a punishment thing, but he just doesn't put a star that day. And then I remember the mom said, she's like, I'm gonna tell you the truth here, but because this was happening so frequently, we were still having him wear pull-up diapers. 5-year-old boy was still wearing pull-up diapers. And she said, should we try stopping that? And I said, yeah, if we're gonna go for it, let's go for it. I would say, let's stop having him wear the diapers. And I remember, I don't have children myself. I called my mom right after the visit. I said, Mom, did I tell the mom the right thing? Because what if I screwed up here and he wets the bed and it's super frustrating? And my mom was like, I don't know, it's 50-50. Let's hope you made the right call. But again, it was super cool. Within just a couple weeks, Mom was like, and the little boy were like, he wasn't wetting the bed anymore. And so, those are some of the problems in the first 5-6 years of practice. Also during that time, I would periodically have patients share with me that their digestive type processes were going better. So I'd have adults come in and say, I'm not having the heartburn anymore, or, hey, I'm going to the bathroom more regularly, but mainly I just wasn't asking questions about it. So I did have a turning point in how I viewed the body, and I would say this was about 3 years ago. It was a couple different things all happened at once that made me really stop and say, I gotta think about this more carefully, like about how the body works. So the first thing, there was a guy that came in, and this was probably 5 years ago, back in, let's say, 2015. He was referred in by his cousin, and I'd seen his cousin, this lady, mainly for mid-back pain. The guy came in, and he said, hey, I said, what brings you in? And he said, well, my cousin told me that you helped her with a bunch of digestive issues. And I was sitting there like, no, I didn't even really know that I'd helped her with that. I was mainly just focused on neck pain and mid-back pain. But the guy tells a story. He says that he's having terrible digestion. So he says every morning he would wake up, just be totally nauseous, and would end up throwing up. This was happening every morning. He's losing weight, and he said that he couldn't eat throughout the day. And so I checked him out. I definitely found spots in his spine that were stiff and tender, even though he didn't have a bunch of back pain. But I found spots that would benefit from chiropractic care, and we started doing that. But mainly I was like, I need to tell this guy about some nutrition strategies. So I was telling him, you should try an elimination diet where you cut out the grains, cut out the dairy. The guy came in for like 4 or 5 visits and then just stopped showing up. And I never heard what happened. Well, flash forward again to like 2017. This guy now gets in a car accident, comes into my office, and I check him out for the car accident. And after I get that checked out, he's like lying face down, and I'm like checking out his mid-back one day for an adjustment. And I said, hey, last time you came in a couple years ago, you were dealing with that terrible digestive stuff. Like, you were throwing up every morning. I was like, whatever happened with that? And he said, you fixed it. And I said, oh, you mean like one of those nutritional strategies I recommended fixed it? And he's lying face down. He looked back at me like I'm some kind of an idiot. And he said, no, doc, you did an adjustment. You did those adjustments and you fixed it. He said, I didn't change the nutrition at all. And he turns back face down. I was just sitting there. I'm like, I felt like such an idiot. But again, I'm a skeptical person. And for some reason, I had this doubt that chiropractic could really help these problems that are outside of back pain, neck pain, headaches, symptoms down an arm or a leg. Chiropractic's bread and butter. Around the same time, I went to a seminar, a continuing education seminar, and this group of doctors were really big on just helping patients understand more about how the body works. But they said there's just a couple questions that can really help patients understand how the body works from this perspective of problems other than back pain, neck pain, headaches. So the first question to ask is, what controls every function in your body? So I'd ask you that question right now. What controls every function? The answer is your brain. Your brain controls everything. You can look it up. It's every cell, every organ, your hormones, your immune system, and then your body's healing potential. Those are all controlled by your brain. But the only way your brain can control all these things is that it has to get clear messages through the nerves. Then it has to be able to send clear messages out to all these body parts. And if you ever want to know the pathway of how your brain is controlling things, you can Google either the body part and then the word innervation. So INNERVATION. And that'll give you the nerve that comes out of the spine that controls that body part. You can also search something called a Merrick chart. That's a chart that says, okay, in the lower neck region, the nerves that come out of the lower neck control inner ear, tonsils and throat, vocal cords, neck and shoulder muscles, nerves to arm, wrist, and hands, and the thyroid gland. So that'll give you the pathways of the body. So that's the first thing, is just to really recognize your brain and your nerves control everything. If there's a problem spot in the spine, a spot with some swelling, not working right, pushing on the nerves, it can cause pain in that area, but it can also affect wherever the nerves go to. The second question, can a nerve be pinched without pain? So I want you to think, what happens if you sit on your leg for too long? Falls asleep, right? So that's numbness and weakness in that part of the leg. The third question is, what would numbness and weakness be in an internal organ of your body? What would numbness and weakness be in your stomach? The answer is that your brain wouldn't sense your stomach right, and it wouldn't be able to control things in there. So your stomach wouldn't grind the food right. It might not open these little circular muscles, and the result is that it just doesn't work like it should. So you really think about your body and the process that go on automatically. Like I tell people, like, digestion in your body is truly like a symphony. Like as soon as you even start to think about food, digestion processes start. So think about an orange right now. Picture an orange, and your salivary glands here will start to make saliva. Your mouth will water. At the same time, your brain sends nerve messages down to your stomach and actually starts your stomach getting the digestive processes starting. But anytime you eat, it is this symphony of glands secreting, muscles contracting. So you have a sphincter muscle, little circular muscle at the top and the bottom of the stomach that need to open and close precisely. Your stomach needs to grind the food. Your intestines, again, have to squeeze poop through 20 feet. You have glands in your stomach that have to pump out the right amount of acids, the right amount of enzymes for any different food combination that's in your stomach. And again, if your brain can't sense all these things from the stomach, then that symphony, it just doesn't play right, and you end up with heartburn or constipation, or just, like that one guy with nausea. Around this time I also looked, there's a study that was done over at the University of Chicago, so pretty close to being an Ivy League level school. They took a group of people with high blood pressure, and their only treatment was adjustments of the upper neck. They compared these people with high blood pressure that got the adjustments to people that were taking two common medicines, and the people that only got adjustments, their blood pressure improved as much as a common combination of two medicines. And so that was a really cool study. Again, I'm a skeptical person. I like to see things with my own eyes. But I'll tell you, as far as research, the thing that really opened my eyes was studies that are being done on the vagus nerves. So the vagus nerves are these two nerves. Their fibers come out of the spinal cord right about the level of the top bone in the neck. Then they actually go up into the skull for a little bit. They exit through the skull right above the top bone in the upper neck. And the two vagus nerves, these two nerves, go down and they provide almost all the rest and digest messages to your body. So they tell your heart and your lungs to slow down, relax. Then they go down and they tell your stomach to turn on and to process foods. All the other digestive processes, they tell them to turn on. And then they also have a branch over to your spleen, which is like one of the main immune response organs of your body. Your spleen is there. If your brain senses that you've got an infection, your brain's going to tell your spleen to send the cells out to start doing the immune response. And so these medical researchers, not chiropractic researchers, but medical researchers, they found that people that have problems where their bodies are attacking themselves, like rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, they found that those people have low amount of vagus nerve function. Those nerves aren't getting messages through very clearly. And so ultimately, they've taken groups of people with significant rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease symptoms, and they've implanted a vagus nerve stimulator. So like the equivalent of a pacemaker for these individual nerves. And at the conclusion of this study, they found that people with these terrible problems where their bodies are attacking themselves, all kinds of pain, at the end of the studies, their rheumatoid arthritis, their Crohn's disease symptoms are drastically better, if not gone completely. And so I looked at these studies being done on the vagus nerve, and I was like, that is amazing. That just improving the function in a single nerve can have that big of an effect on the health of a person. But I gotta ask you, as soon as I thought that, I was like, wait a second. I want you to think, what's the first question you should ask after hearing this study? What's the question that medical researchers should ask? If they say the vagus nerve, if it has low function, your body attacks itself. If the function's normal, your body works like it should. the right question is, what's pinching the vagus nerve? What's keeping that nerve from working right? And that's where I did a bunch of looking at where the vagus nerve comes out. It comes out, again, right above the top bone in the neck. The top two things that would make the vagus nerve not work right, number one is really poor posture. That would squish that region. Number two is if there's swelling in that area. And so you can read these vagus nerve studies for yourself, but after reading that, I really look back at my experience during chiropractic school, and all of a sudden, and doing the seminars, but I was like, innate intelligence, like, that's not a cult term. Innate intelligence is just your body has an ability to heal itself. If that ability requires the nerves to get messages through. If the nerves don't get their message through, then your body can't heal. And then that power that made the body heals the body. To me, that sounded religious. It made me think I joined a cult. What we're saying there is that the power that made the body, your entire body when it was developing as a kid, was controlled by your brain and nerves. And your brain and nerves, if you have a problem, they're trying to fix that problem. But again, if there's a problem spot in the spine, it can keep that from working right. So after I read these studies, after I went to those seminars and learned that, I didn't really change how I practiced that much, but I started just talking to people about the problems they're having. Like, let's say somebody comes in for mid-back pain and they say they have heartburn. I say, what's the story on that? They say, yeah, I've had heartburn for the last 5 years. And I say, if we get your spine working better, you might pay attention, that might improve. And people all the time now report back that these crazy symptoms improve drastically when we get their spines working better. So some of the more recent stories, I had this 5-year-old little girl come in. Mom told me that she'd been dealing with neck pain, complained about it on a regular basis. In that situation, we assumed she played on a trampoline and maybe her head got jerked. So I checked this girl out. There was definitely some chiropractic problems in the neck. Adjusted this girl a couple times a week for 3 or 4 weeks. And we got to a re-exam, and I asked the mom, how is she really doing with this neck pain? And the mom said, yeah, she's complaining way less about neck pain, but she said also she's not having the fits and outbursts anymore. And I was like, you didn't tell me anything about these fits and outbursts. And the mom said, yeah, well, that was one of the things I was hoping that chiropractic would help with. She said, yeah, so in the past, like, she would just have these breakdowns. She had trouble focusing. And she said, since she's been getting the chiropractic care, she just is calm. She's relaxed and she's not having those outbursts. She says it's so much better. And she said at 5 years old, she actually tells me, like, she feels like she's able to relax now. And coolest thing, I was so excited to hear that. And again, it's like chiropractors say they can help ADHD, they can help kids with focus issues. Here was a kid in my office that had that experience, and I hadn't even known that was one of the goals. Again, I was just there trying to improve how her spine was working. Still have some of the constipation type stories come in too. I remember there was this mom brought in this little boy, 7 years old, and she said that for years this guy had poor digestion. His stomach hurt all the time, and he was just chronically ongoing constipated. The mom said they tried all the natural, all the medical type options for this, and nothing had helped. And so again, I checked him out. I find chiropractic problems in the top of the neck, the mid-back, down in the low back. I was adjusting him. I remember we got to the first re-exam, and my assistant Sherry was actually in the room too, but I said, how's he doing with the digestive issues? Is his stomach hurting less? Is he going poop more regularly? And the mom said, yeah. She said, it is a night and day difference. And she said, I got to tell you, like, it is so nice because I do not have to hear him cry when he tries to go poop anymore. And again, one of those just, my stomach was up in my throat because I was like, how crazy is it? This little guy, was crying every time he tried to go poop. And here, just a simple series of chiropractic care broke him out of that cycle. I'm seeing tons of adults lately with ongoing digestive type problems. I remember a young lady, terrible digestion for 6 months, and just kind of the same deal, periodic nausea, couldn't eat, just chronic heartburn feeling. And I remember that we did a series of chiropractic care, got her completely fixed up. Another one that's been really fun. Again, people come in, and one of the most frequent things they say is that they're not able to sleep well. And in the past, I would just attribute that to pain. But the reality is, for your body to wind down and relax at night, your brain needs to sense how all these internal organs, where they're at, how fast they're running. And that vagus nerve, the vagus nerve actually it's almost 80% sensation messages, sensation fibers that are carrying those messages up to the brain. But then also the vagus nerve is letting your body slow down and relax. Well, since I had a higher awareness, people tell me they have sleep difficulties, and I would say 60 to 70% of patients that come in with sleep issues, when we get to a re-exam, they say that they're sleeping better, and some of that is due to decreased pain. But a lot of these people also have some issues at the top of the neck, and you can actually check yourself if you want. If you're sitting out there, you're like, I wonder if I have any issues. Especially with that vagus nerve that, again, is the rest and digest and relax nerve messages. But if you just push on your neck and it feels like normal pressure, and you get up to this top of the neck area and you push in there, and it's a sharper type of tenderness, or it's got this dull ache, that would be my top clue that there is actually some swelling up here affecting these important nerves that let your body slow down and relax. So ultimately, I want to let you know, like, just where we're at with, if you're out there and you have a problem, it's not back pain, neck pain, headaches. The big thing is that chiropractors cannot cure to help everything under the sun. We would never claim to cure cancer. What we would say is that your brain and your nerves try to improve and fix everything going on in your body. Our job is simply to check your spine, see if there's problems. If there are problems, again, we can see what the nerves coming out of that spot go out and control by looking at a Merrick chart. And then my job is just to give you the best plan to improve the function in the spine. And then we essentially monitor and see what happens. But what I will tell you is that even if you're out there and you feel like your body hates you, like it's trying to self-destruct, your brain is up at the top of your body, trying as hard as it can, trying like heck to fix your problems, to get your body working right. And again, if there's a roadblock spot, that can get in the way of your body's ability to heal. And so if we get that spot working better, like, it is just super fun when people come in and I get to hear about these diverse problems. So again, the most common things that people will come in with and we'll see improvement is abnormal digestion issues, heartburn, bloating, constipation. In adults, you've also got sleep issues, just difficulty relaxing, some allergies and asthma type issues. Also sexual function. We do have patients come in and their goal is to see fertility improve. And all your sexual function is controlled by nerves that come out of the low back region in around your tailbone. Again, we can't promise that somebody that's trying to get pregnant is going to get pregnant if they start getting chiropractic care. We just check that low back region and see if there's signs that there's swelling affecting those nerves, try to get the spine working better. And then with kids, the top things would be ear infections, constipation, bedwetting, difficulty focusing, ADHD type issues, and all the ones that I mentioned above for adults. And so again, if you're out there, you're dealing with one of these problems, I'm gonna advise you can click the link below. You can learn about coming in as a new patient, learn about the special offer we have available for you. Pick up the phone, give me a call over here, 515-309-1217. You can talk to Sherry. If you want, we can sit down and do a consultation, or you can just get a new patient appointment scheduled. And we have online scheduling. So if you want to get in and actually set up a new patient appointment, you're certainly welcome to do that. So again, my name is David Krohse. I'm at Compass Chiropractic. And if I haven't met you before, I'm thrilled to meet you and see if by improving the health of the spine, we can enable your body to fix and heal any problems that you might be dealing with. So thanks for listening and watching. Look forward to meeting you.